everyone. Welcome to Exposure Spotlight Magazine Talk Show. This is your host and editor, Teresa Perkins. We are gathered today to talk about the inauguration of our president, Joseph R. Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris. 2020 was a year full of twists and turns, and it had all of us wondering what next could possibly go wrong. After Joe Biden won the Democratic nomination and picked Kamala Harris as his running mate, we still wonder if they could be the next president and vice president. We waited for days for election ballots to be counted. And then finally, there it was. 81,283,485 Americans elected a new president and the first African American, Asian, female vice president, Kamala Harris. Our guests tonight, I am so excited to have them on board with us. They are from South Dade Branch of the NAACP in Miami, Florida. We are going to talk about our concerns about the incoming administration and the high points of the inauguration ceremonies. First, we have Dr. Brad Brown, is the South Dade NAACP branch secretary and a former branch president. He received his BS from Cornell, his master's from Auburn, and his PhD from Oklahoma State University. He had a long career as a government fisheries scientist beginning in 1962 in Massachusetts. He is an internationally known marine scientist with experience in the struggles on climate change and has worked to increase African Americans in science. Now, next we have the Senator Dwight Bullard. He hails from an esteemed educator, community activist, and legislator family. In 1981, Senator Bullard moved to Miami, where he was raised in the community of Richmond Heights. He received his BS in history education at Florida A&M University. In 2019, he became president of the South Dade NAACP, where he continues to amplify the voice of those often unheard. It is such an honor to meet the both of you. How are the both of you doing?
Doing quite well.
Doing quite well.
I'm fine.
Yes. Well, look, again, I am so excited to have the both of you here and to discuss such a tremendous day that just took place on January 20th. I know a lot of people are excited and they are looking and just watching and observing, because they want great things. They want a change. And I believe that the change is now and it is here. So look, I don't know. I tell you what, let's see who we're going to start with first, because we have a lot to discuss, but we're going to get right to it. So as we watch the inauguration unfold, how did it make you feel, or what were your thoughts? And let's see, which one want to start first with that question?
I'll let Dr. Brown start off.
All right, well, Dr. Brown.
Well, it was a great feeling. I attended the two Obama inaugurations, and they were different. And it was a different feeling, but it was still a good feeling.
Uh-huh.
And there was a sense of hope. And the high point for me was Amanda Gorman's poem, because she really summed it up so well and gave us something to hang on our hopes on.
Yeah, I can truly agree with you on that. What about you, Senator Bullard?
Well, I agree 100%. Sister Gorman's poem for me, was a highlight, um, right up there with the swearing in of Vice President Kamala Harris. I mean, it's rare that you get an opportunity to hit that many different touch points in history, right? Like when you think about the magnitude of what history represents, world history, American history, et cetera, the idea that in one 2-minute moment, you changed American women's history, Asian American history, and Black history all at once with the swearing in of Kamala Harris is going to be so significant for years to come, especially for women of color, Black women, in terms of what they can do, what the expectation that the world will now have of them in terms of their presence and how they're going to be viewed and how they're going to show up, whether it's in corporate, boardrooms or in classrooms or in labs or in operating rooms around this country. It's going to be a, new day.
Yeah, I agree with that tremendously. It is a beginning of a new day. Just a great change, like I mentioned and said before. So what would you say, Dr. Brown, what are some of the high points that you really got from the inauguration ceremony?
Well, I certainly agree with Dwight on the importance of Kamala Harris. And I had the good fortune of spending a Sunday morning with her back in 2018 when she campaigned down in Florida. And she's such a warm and friendly person. It was just a real great feeling. And Biden, Biden's record is not all that great. And I've been around when I wasn't all that happy with the issues he took. They only seemed good because he was a senator from a border state. And after all, if he was so much better than other senators from similar places and the similar pressures. But I really feel that he believes that he can impact this kind of change. Almost the way that who would have ever expected LBJ, given his record, to have passed, the 3 major civil rights bills and the war on poverty. So I think he's grown. I think he's sincere. So I'm hopeful. I'm cautiously hopeful. I get a little nervous every time I hear people tell us to all come together, because I'm not sure how they define all. If we look at our history, when people have said come together, they meant white people coming together. And what usually happens is they came together and Black folks got the short end of the stick.
Mm-hmm.
The 3/5 compromise in the Constitution, the withdrawal of the troops in 1876, the agreement to let the South deal with the Black population, the compromises Roosevelt made to get Social Security that eliminated a vast majority of the Black workers from being able to participate. So when people says we've got to come together and we're looking across the aisle, I start getting nervous, because when we talk about everybody coming together the way Amanda did in her poem, yes. I just hope we can move in that direction rather than what history tells us.
But don't you think, I mean, we're off to a good start. Even with President Biden, he's saying, let's have unity. And I mean, for me, I personally see that that's a great start. I mean, and I hear what you're saying. It makes you a little nervous when you hear that, but look, we've been divided for, well, not just these past 4 years, but it's just been going on for quite.
We're both officers in the NAACP, and you have to understand this organization has been around for 111 years and has seen times of great triumph and times of great turmoil at the hands of government and at the hands of some of these federal officials. I mean, Brad pointed out, when we're operating together, when we're operating in a true sense of unity, you get things passed like the Voting Rights Act or the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You get, fair housing policies by the Johnson administration in the 60s. You get the Affordable Care Act by the Obama administration in the 2000s. But at the same time, we've oftentimes, been asked to come together as a community and then immediately been left out. I mean, and so when we talk about this notion of cautious optimism, it's not to discount, the things that have been happening. I mean, President Biden's already signed executive orders related to immigration policy that are steps in the right direction. He has the most diverse cabinet in the history of the presidency up to this point, positive steps in the right direction. But what we're not going to do as an organization is we're not going to let our foot off the gas. At the end of the day, we all have to be diligent. We have to be committed to making sure that America is as good as its promise. And so when we talk about Amanda Gorman's poem and her talking about it not being, broken, and I hate to paraphrase it, but, America not being broken, but yet unfulfilled, right? Like that there's so much more that can come of the promise of America if people are really committed to the cause, that everyone should have access to this opportunity, regardless of, creed, color, orientation, whatever the case may be, that everyone can experience this promise of the American dream without fear of repercussion or folks, trying to overturn elections like we saw on January 6th.
All right, absolutely.
Well, I can give you a brighter side. I have a couple more unbright sides that worry me, but I called a friend in Senegal today, and they were saying that, everybody in Dakar was watching CNN.
Uh-huh.
They had access to it, they had cable. And America looks so good. And the way America looked to the world in that inauguration is the kind of way we want America to look.
Right.
All the time, and to really be that way. But it had that impact. It had that impact to see Kamala Harris up there, to see the mixture, to see people coming together, to see people promising to end racism. That makes, you become proud to be American when you say that, and when you talk to people in say West Africa who look to the United States, and this is so. And her response was that you really needed that after 2 weeks ago, because the image of the United States 2 weeks ago, was down in the sewer.
Right.
And to lift it up the way it was yesterday was a marvelous day.
All right. Yeah, it really was. And that's the thing. People want it to be the traditional way, the way that we're adjusted, to it being. So with that being said, do you think that the new administration would give us hope and less fear? Because, you know, people has been very fearful, not fearful, but having fear of not really knowing what to expect.
Right. And I will say, to kind of piggyback on what Brad was saying, going to sleep last night and knowing that there's an adult in the White House. You know what I mean? That there's somebody who's reasonable minded, who thinks things
Did
through.
you say an adult?
Adult. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna mince words. We were dealing with a petulant child for the last 4 years, somebody who threw tantrums. We saw those tantrums play out in the worst possible way 2 weeks ago, when he basically egged on hundreds of people to charge the Capitol. So I say that to say that I felt a sense of relief. You know, my shoulders were a little lighter and looser.
Yes.
Knowing that when I woke up this morning, I knew I wouldn't have to hear about some outrageous thing that the president, that the new president had done. Rather, as I pointed out, and as President Biden had committed to, there were like a number of executive orders to overturn bad policies from the previous administration, to talk about the notion of racial equity, to figure out a real plan on how to get this vaccine out to people who need it. You know, so all these things that we think about, like people were joking the other day. They were like, it's 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning on inauguration day. If President Trump would like to roll out his healthcare plan that he said that he was going to roll out 4 years ago, he'll have 2 hours to do it. And people were jokingly saying that, but you got to think about that. Here's someone that comes in saying Obamacare was the worst thing, to ever happen to America, and that his plan was going to be better. And in 4 years, you didn't have an inkling of it. You didn't have a bullet point. And so those kind of just basic tenets of governance, to say that I'm going to do something and I'm going to commit to doing it, is something that I appreciate. I mean, the current administration said they're going to try and get 100 million people vaccinated in the first 100 days. And as ambitious as that sounds, it's an actual plan.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that it's an actual plan that someone's putting forward to try and solve one of the tougher problems in our country. And whether you like it or don't like it, at least it's a plan.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Now, allow me to ask, and I know we talked about Vice President Kamala Harris earlier, but what kind of impact do you really think that she would have on other women who may consider to run for public office or high positions? Do you think that it would give women a different perspective of them being more acceptable?
Well, I think the easy answer is yes, and I'm sure Brad has some thoughts on this, but I just want to highlight the Black women that came together months ago that strongly encouraged, made the commitment to say, if then Vice President Biden did not pick a Black woman as his running mate, that there will be repercussions. So I want to just highlight the courage and tenacity of those women who, the Alicia Garzas of the world, the Amanda Seals, the Latasha Browns, who were so critical in flipping Georgia and getting these votes turned out in all these different places, that, said to themselves that this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to let the world know the power and the magnitude of Black women in making this kind of move. I mean, when you think about the history of this country, this was something that would have been unheard of 20 years ago or 25 years ago, that Black women will be so audacious as to say, either you do this or else. And so,
caller on the other line who's going to ask a question. Caller, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am.
All right, go ahead with your question.
Dr. Brown, after listening to the president divide us, like racism and nativism and fear. Can we really start afresh as the president requests, or is there just a very harsh reality that this nation is divided?
Of course, we have to try to start afresh, but we cannot expect that this is going to impact everybody. It's not going to be 100%, but efforts to start afresh will impact some people. And every person that we can impact that is willing to be open-minded and open to change is one more than we had before. And so, and if we get more of them, we not only will impact their thinking, but we will create a climate which will change behavior.
Mm.
As Dr. King will say, you may not be able to make someone like you or love you, but you can sure make him take his foot off your back. And so you can change, you have to move in this direction in order to change behavior in a larger direction. But don't be expecting everybody to turn around and change overnight, no.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I agree. So caller, did you heard what Dr. Brown said, huh?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. And we have another caller on the other line. So caller, are you there?
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for calling in.
So my question was just, how do I get involved with NAACP?
Okay, and that question is for Senator Bullard. She wants to know how she can get involved with the NAACP.
Well, that's a pretty easy question. I'm sure Brad's answered this 1,000 times over, but I'll give it a crack. So the NAACP is broken down by branches. Where other organizations may have chapters, we have branches. We consider ourselves part of a larger tree, with the national headquarters kind of being our foundation, and then the different branches in all the different areas making up the important parts of the tree. And so based on where you are, what city you're in, you can get involved with the branch that is closest to you. You can locate that branch by going to the national website, naacp.org, naacp.org, to make a determination on which branch is most effective for you. Of course, we're located in South Miami-Dade, Florida. So if you can imagine Miami-Dade as a county, you have your North Dade section, and then folks who live in the southern part of the Dade, divided by kind of a major thoroughfare called Flagler Street as our dividing line. And so if you live in southern Miami-Dade County, you are welcome to join us, and can go to our website at southdade.naacp.org for membership. But in general, you do want to go to the national website. It's user-friendly. You can go in there and put in your zip code, and they'll give you the list of branches closest to you. I know that there's an active one in Baton Rouge, where you're filming. I know there's a super active one in New Orleans as well. The Louisiana State Conference is, much like the Florida State Conference, is one of the more active state conferences in the country, because of course in the South we still got a lot of work to do to cure some of the ills of racial animus that still plague us in this country.
All right, well, that's good information there, caller. So did you get that information?
Yes, it was very helpful.
Well, great, and thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have a question for the both of you. So if you were speaking to President Biden, what would you actually ask him to do? So I would like for the both of you all to answer that. So who we're going to start with first? Dr. Brown.
All right. If I had an opportunity to sit down with him, I would look at his program to deal with systematic racism. And I would look at the fact that I think he's done picked a good person, and Susan Rice, to head the domestic council. And he's asked her to write herd on this, because all too often, well, let me give you an example. When the first presidential order was issued to work, charging everybody to work with black colleges, HBCUs, it appeared in JET. It never got down to most of the people in the government who never did anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, most of the idea of doing it, was to get some political points for having a statement out rather than being serious about it doing. So what I would say, ask him to do is assign her dedicated staff to ride herd and all of the government agencies, right down to lower levels, like regional. When I say lower levels, they're from a federal system, they're high, but I'm talking about people like regional directors or directors, which I was one of, and ride herd on them and force reports, regular reports, because that's how a bureaucracy works. And therefore we get something done, even if each person does only something relatively small, the magnitude of the total will be large. But if it's just something that goes out and you can do it if you want, and if that, or it'll be left to the black person in the area to do, rather than the person with power, or a person with power. So that's what I would tell him to do.
That's great. All right, Senator Bullard.
One of the more challenging pieces of legislation that he authored, that the president authored when he was a senator, was the '94 crime bill during the Clinton administration. And so my ask of him would be to really look at the damage that has done, especially in the Black community, as it relates to criminal justice, and do everything he can to shift those policies. I mean, we're talking about, disproportionate numbers of people, from the Black community being incarcerated. We're talking about over-policing of communities, and I don't want to put all that weight on his shoulders, but the challenge was that the '94 crime bill ushered in a lot of those changes, and then those changes were furthered at the state level. And so with his power as the president, he can now kind of force states or encourage states to change their policies so that Black communities aren't as detrimentally impacted, and more importantly, change policies to help usher in real reform in those communities. Things like legalization of marijuana, making sure that those folks who are impacted by marijuana drug policies get their records sealed and expunged. Looking at what President Obama did in terms of pardoning individuals who had been, victimized by the war on drugs at the end of his administration, he could carry on those policies. So there's so many things, to untangle that web. But I think he should really commit his tenure to really righting those wrongs.
Yeah. Well, look, you guys have given some great information, and truly I have enjoyed having this discussion with you, as well as this conversation about the inauguration that we're all are just so overwhelmed about and just excited and elated. And we're looking for great things to happen and to take place, and that there is hope for tomorrow. There is so much that we're able to look forward to, because I believe that we're off to a great start. And we can see some of the things that already that is taking place, because he has signed quite a few executive orders and actions or what have you. And so we're off to a great start. And I believe that there is a change. There is a change that is coming. And all we have to do is this. We have to continue to trust and believe and have faith in God. Because when you have that, you don't need anything else. And God is already showing us is that all we have to do is continue to trust and believe in him. And already he has made that happen already by giving us President Joseph Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Would you all agree? Yes.
Definitely agree. I would also say that, of course, faith without works is dead.
It's dead.
So,
amen.
So
that's my favorite right there.
So as a president of the NAACP, I would encourage folks to join organizations like ours that are going to be persistent in making sure that we add the faith component, but the works component in terms of making sure these policies stick.
Amen. Absolutely. So is there anything else that you guys would like to, the both of you would like to address to our audience that's listening, just to continue to have, sense of hope and just know. And I believe our people already probably have a big smile on their face, just even seeing the inauguration, how beautiful it was. And it just enlightened us a great deal. So is there anything else that you all would like to leave with our audience?
Well, I would like to just urge a word of caution, because over expectation, and then people get discouraged because they had greater hopes than actually get delivered, and then they don't turn out to vote. And then we end up 2 years from now with a Congress that is opposed to them, which makes it even further more difficult to make progress. And you have to realize how slow the federal government is. The first budget that a new administration has complete control of is 3 years into their administration. The budget should have started in October. They've already voted the budget for the rest of this year. So the first year he's in, it's already voted. It's a 2-year process. So he's getting a budget that's already developed. There's only so much you can do. It's only the next budget that the president, can send out guidance as how he wants everything developed from the start. And I say that to say, we've got to caution the people to be patient, be realistic, look at the direction things are moving. Don't expect too big a change too quick. And let them be there long enough to really be able to do something.
Right.
I would just add to that we don't get to these points by accident. We get to these points through hard work and perseverance. And if any group of people knows hard work and perseverance, is Black folks in this country.
Yeah.
So try not to be short-sighted about the how we've gotten to this point. A lot of people like to think, oh, well, Georgia got flipped in 2 years. Stacey Abrams will tell you it took 10 years. You know what I mean? And activists in that state will tell you it took even longer than that to plant the seeds and reap the rewards of that kind of hard work. And that's in every state, whether it be Florida, Louisiana, Texas, the South, in the words of the great rapper Andre 3000, the South has something to say, and Black folks in the South definitely have something to say. And so I would encourage folks to get involved, stay involved, and put in the hard work that it takes to deliver for the people in your community.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. So thank you all so very, 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 very much. I truly enjoyed this conversation, Dr. Brad Brown and Senator Dwight Bullard. I greatly appreciate you guys, and just continue to pray and lift up the United States, this nation, because as he mentioned before, we can't all expect things so fast or so swiftly, but at the same time we must pray for one another, and just pray that we already know that God has everything in his hands. So with all of that being said, again, thank you all so much, and I want to leave this with you. Your voice matters. All right. Thank you. And this is Teresa Perkins, editor and host of Exposure Spotlight Magazine Talk Show. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exposure Spotlight Magazine, bringing you the best in news, entertainment, music, beauty, fashion, celebrity interviews, political issues, spotlighting local and national businesses, health and fitness, inspirational morals and values. If you would like to be featured and have a story to share, give us a call at 225-394-7200 or email us at exposurespotlightmagazine@gmail.com. Again, you can reach us at 225-394-7200, where your voice matters. Exposure Spotlight Magazine.